A very good afternoon, everyone. So today we are going to have a simple sneak peek by Minasfera on the Dompet Blueprint series. I would say these courses previously have been there, but currently we have repackaged the Dompet Blueprint to ensure that more information is going to be covered, and also these are the courses for you to take care of your finance well. So I would say for this course, it would be something that actually covers whatever that we might always omit during the time when we are trying to plan for our finance. So brought to you by Minas Farasina Berhad. So we are going to introduce these four courses. The first course will be the Do It Your Way. So Do It Your Way would be actually focusing on how you would achieve financial wellness. After that, we are going to move on to Smart Emergency Fund Management, which focuses on emergency fund. So how are you going to set up emergency fund? You are going to take some notes on this. After that, we are going to have Smart Personal Risk Management, which focuses on risks, which always there would be some misconception between emergency and also risk. And finally, we are going to talk about Strategic Personal Debt Management, which we are going to talk only a little bit about how we will be able to manage our debts. So without further ado, let us kickstart this session. So this is me. My name is Vincent. So I'm also a CFP certified member. So besides that, I'm also the operations and education manager under the company Midas Ferasania Berhad, and also being nominated as the most successful people in Malaysia, featured and also being featured in British Publishing House since 2022. Um, besides I'm a CFP certified member, I am also a CFP certification program trainer, not only in Thai UNT but in other firms as well since 2021. And I had led financial planning department in financial advisory company previously. And during the time when I was in those positions, I always tell my participants not to be the money slave, but be its master. So I would say these courses are designed just to ensure that everyone is not the money slave. So I would say this technique that I have been contributing to CFP certification program. However, I would think that if I were not using this for other thing else, where else I should use? Instead, I should use it for everyone who is currently is having some problems, or sometimes they may just want to have a new goal in their financial journey. So because of this, I designed these four courses, and these four courses would be the core of the content today. So let me just move on. So we'll start from the part Do It Your Way. The part Do It Your Way is actually focusing on financial wellness. If let's say you have noticed before, in Minas Finance and Berhad, it was using the name of Plan Your Financial Wellness. However, this plan for financial wellness has been rebranded into Do It Your Way. So how you do it your way? Ask yourself for this. So the first thing that we are going to talk about today is on behavioral finance. So when we say behavioral finance means we look at how we spend, means we focusing on our spending habit and check on whether the habit decides your current wealth level. So your habit decides whether you are able to achieve your financial goals. If you can achieve them, of course you can be wealthier. But if you cannot, doesn't mean that you are going to be unwealthy, but you might have a hard time for you to achieve your financial goals. So a lot of times when we talk about this behavioral finance, it's like, yeah, why people who, especially who are rich, those people who are rich gets richer, but those people who are poor gets poorer. It is actually based on how they spend their money when they receive their money. So because of this, we are going to see the current situation. It sounds like it is quite easy, quite simple for us to understand the financial concepts or sometimes financial habits. But changing financial habits is not as easy as just saying that, oh, I'm going to do it today and then full stop. Usually, this involves something like you are going to maintain this habit for about 3 months, or sometimes even 1 year, or even sometimes 5 years. So based on this personal financial scenario that we have currently, is that a lot of people, they don't see their goals achieved, or their goals are moving towards. That's why they choose not to continue anymore. And at the same time, we have a few other scenarios as well. The first one, people could not save enough ratio of money for their financial goals. Usually, for example, we are being asked to save 10 to 15% from our income. However, this amount of money indeed is not as easy as you think, that you want to save, then you'll be able to save. So because of this, a lot of people, especially those people who are staying in the city, they will have some problems on maintaining their lifestyle. Sometimes it may be just paycheck to paycheck, or even sometimes more than the paychecks for their expenses. So this is not something that new to the society, but I would say because of the financial goals that they set is 10%, but the problem is their expenses might have overshoot the amount of 90% of their salary. So because of this financial goal is entirely not suitable for that person. So here in this course, we don't teach you how to set your percentage, but we ask you to check the amount first before you set up your goals. So means it's not going to be just set a goal and then after that you try to achieve it, but you set the goals because you have already checked through your budget. The next one, this is going to be repeated later in the emergency part, whereby a lot of people, for information, is indeed more than 50% of the people in Malaysia could not fork out 1,000 ringgit immediately. Now, this situation happens since 2020 when pandemic hits, while at the same time, people won't be able to work. So this 1,000 ringgit for them, initially they don't think that this will happen by just having ourselves being locked down at home. However, this 1,000 ringgit was the one that actually maintains their lifeline. However, this 1,000 ringgit is not being affected or taken out from their pocket at all. Because of this, a lot of other situation happens. For example, like requesting for help from the charitable societies. This kind of situation, yes, it of course we can do it, but the problem is a lot of people are having dignity issues. So because of this, people might not requesting anything on the help, but they try themselves to dig into something. For example, they may dig into debts just because of they want to fork out 1,000 ringgit for that. I would say this is not entirely bad, but the most important thing is that you have to think of a way in order for you to dig out this 1,000. Of course, this 1,000 is indeed not entirely on emergency only. And the last one, most people exhaust their salary before the month end, which in Chinese we have the word the emptiest, before the month end. So this really has to check through the habits itself, which is the part of financial budgeting. And through financial budgeting, you should build your own habit. So now, when you refer to that, of you want to build your habit, the first thing that you need to do is not saying that, oh, I want to reach something, I want to achieve maybe maybe 1,000 or $10,000 in just 1 year, because really it looks at how you spend your money. So check your budget first before doing any spending for the month, and you start to follow the budget if possible. So, and at the same time, you can also use some methods of budgeting. Let's say, for example, cash jars or save before spending. This one is for you to initially test whether these methods useful for you. But take note, it must be logical. When we say logical, means it doesn't really erode your spending habit. If let's say it really goes all the way above your spending habit, perhaps not only not only it is illogical, but at the same time it's also it may cause some issues on whether you are overspending your money. So that's why it is important for us to test, and then only by then we check whether we should change our spending habit or not. Observe your spending habit. This is very important, and also identify any spending habits you want to change. You can see this, I put it at the third point, because a lot of times a lot of people don't look at how they spend, but they just simply say that, oh, I want to have a specific goals. Perhaps it may just merely setting goals, right? But this is not something that is good. If let's say you are setting goals for that, because you are going to feel your goals are always inachievable. All right, so because of this, it's important for you to check your spending habit and identify any spending habit that you want to change, and finally you decide which kind of methods that you want to use. Usually I would say it's everything depends on you, not on any financial planners or not even any insurance agents, so on and so forth. Whoever who advise you might not help you. You are the one that helps yourself. So there won't be any method which is when we refer to that of saving money would be a failure, but remember that only some specific methods suits you the best. So that's why you should check yourself, and also at the final point of it, you should believe yourself that you can build right spending habit, and you also can reach your financial goals. So building your habit requires you to check on how you spend your money, not entirely or merely look at how this method should be applied to your life. So based on this, building a habit is indeed important. Please check through once before you do anything. So, and at the same time in this course, we are going to talk about some scam awareness as well, because this would be the part that actually, even though we are smart, we are good enough in saving money, but a lot of times we may just lose all money to scams. This is not something that we want, but this is definitely a huge loophole in our society nowadays to get your money off. So people always not aware about scams that happens immediately in them until they find themselves in a scam trap. Means only after a few weeks or few months or sometimes few hours they find themselves, I got scammed already. So because of this, it's important to know how the modus operandi of the scam that applies onto our life. So usually it starts something very, very small. For example, just a phone call or just a WhatsApp message, or even sometimes just a say hi to you, right? So all these considered as a scam kick start, which I don't think that this word is good enough for us to use it, but it is always the case that it just happened. It just happened anytime, anywhere. So please remember, any kind of call or any kind of WhatsApp message that you have received, please always warn yourself once before you kick yourself into the scam trap. So warn yourself, always be vigilant against any scams that has happened around us. So continue on those people who are easily get trapped, those smart people. And these smart people, I will say, is those tech savvy people, probably those people around their 20s and 30s. Usually they are the one easily get scammed. They lose money because they are not realized during the time where they find themselves in. All right, so I list down a few of these feelings or few of these perceptions that is available among people who are currently in their 20s and 30s and they consider themselves smart, to fork out what kind of information that you should take note before you really say that you trust this person or you try to say that label this person as scam. So the first one, sounds too good to be true. Um, I would say a lot of times when someone shares you something, for example, an investment project or some investment schemes, sounds too good to be true because sometimes they will just saying that, oh, all right, this around 10 to 15% is indeed a guaranteed one. Yes, promising too good. All right, 10 to 15% is actually indeed a huge amount, which we only get this amount when we are trying to borrow money. So, as it mentioned, it is promising a good return, but actually, this good return might just realize it in other way by just, for example, asking you to look for someone. This is one, or may ask you to keep contributing in order for you to see to obtain the realized return. This is another one. Sounds too good to be true, but everything is just paper game. So when we say paper game means everything just recorded inside a piece of paper without you realize the money on your hand. So this is not something that quite good because of we just look at paper and we feel happy after we get any returns from there. So yeah, but a lot of people they trust whatever they see. So this happens unfortunately a lot of times on those people who get themselves scammed. So other than that, making a simple borrowing such as assisting transfer to obtain a fee from it, this one is something that referring to, for example, I have a few accounts, I have 10 accounts in each every banks, and then after that I borrow 4 or borrow 3 to other people for their usage. Now take note that as long as you use it for other people's usage, is considered as a breach of usage of the bank accounts, which can be prosecuted. So if let's say you just merely want to obtain a fee from something, perhaps maybe you look for some referral programs would be better. But this is something that worth informing that if let's say anything really happens and they said that your account your that particular account has been labeled as scam account, then all of your other accounts will also get affected. So this is something that doesn't worth it at all. Just by just you making a simple borrowing which is cost nothing, and maybe you just earn a little bit, maybe perhaps a 5 or 10% just to get yourself with additional income. I don't think it's worth it. So for this kind of situation, always remember to not allowing this from happening. But a lot of times people are not realizing this. They think that they would be able to earn money just from opening a bank account and use it for other people. They can just open for themselves, but a lot of times they will just say that, oh, I want to earn once, or sometimes it's more than once. So that's why everyone drop into the trap itself. And the final one, YOLO. All right. So this YOLO refers to that of you only live once, because a lot of times there are some deals which are too expensive to lose it out. So for example, like when they are having this they say, oh, for example, they this round, and there's a game, or what we call it is a perhaps money game, okay. So money game, they have a lot of these perks so that they will be able to attract more people to join into it. Unfortunately, this doesn't really happen, especially when you are those people who are the beginners. You really have to work through it, and after that you have to look for any other people around you to just get themselves into the scheme. Only by then you can get that amount of money. I would say sometimes this YOLO mindset should have been struck off. If not, then you are going to lose more and more. So unless you are not really into it, or else you have to really check through yourself whether you are the one that is currently inside this scheme or not. Sometimes we may just not realize until we find out that that amount of money is already out, right? So that's why smart people lose money, and we are going to talk about a little bit on this scam awareness. So please remember, before you do anything, clean your earwax or earwax first. Okay, make sure that you are clear in your listening, you are clear in reading. Make sure that how check whether they are trying to get your beliefs or trying to get your trust from all this. So the first one, how they go and scam you. They go and scam you using this specific urgencies. Means you try your best. They try their best to actually impact you, and saying that, oh, you must do it immediately. You must do it within 1 hour, or you must do it within 20 minutes, or else it is considered as as a scam account, something like that. Okay, so that they can cut off your lines, so on and so forth. So this one, if let's say they really want to do it for information, they won't do it this way. They won't do it through a call. They will do it through other methods. For example, coming out with a letter, a formal letter, or sometimes when really they are cutting off the line, usually the telcos are the one that actually applies this change, because they are the one managing the numbers. So if let's say they say that I'm coming from a regulatory authority, then this is something that is worth to put it as a red flag, okay, without further thinking, right? So yeah, this is something that worth to talk about, right? That they say that they are going to freeze your account, they are going to freeze your phone number, they are going to say that they are going to take off your assets. These are something that really worth to look at it, okay? And please remember, when they say that you have to transfer this money to that account, this is another one, okay, that they say is urgent. So please remember to stay vigilant by just make sure that all these kind of messages being taken off without further thinking, right? Because when we overthink, perhaps we may trust the message that has been posted inside. The next one is they sound authority. Let's say, for example, they are calling from a government agency. So, actually, quite a few circumstances that happens to me as well. This sounds weird. Okay, so sometimes they say they're calling from MCMC, or sometimes from PDRM. So, you can, if let's say they really call you, usually these are scams, because those regulatory authority, they do not have time to call. They have too they are actually being engaged to just pick up calls. It's already quite busy for them already. So when they say that they are calling from a government agency, then this is something that worth to talk about. And maybe I can share you something that there's another occurrence that I pick up a call, and they said that, oh, I'm actually calling from yeah, it's a real case, MCMC. And then they say now your number had been is going to be suspended in I think in a 1.5 hours, or even sometimes half an hour. And then after that, asked me to do a lot of things. And actually, it seems like they are way too helpful, that they said, I can help you to transfer the number to the police. And some more is in East Malaysia. It's not I'm currently in West Malaysia. So okay, all this kind of dilly dally, and a lot of this additional message that has been received from me. Find actually there are a lot of red flags already, but I'm still yet to figure out, because I just woke up. So what happened is that when finally I find out it's a scam, I immediately take off the call. And then it's like, okay, take note, all this kind of thing, and have to be always vigilant, even though sometimes they may just say, oh, I'll help you to transfer your call, and then after that they recall it again, and they can recall it for a few times, okay, for just that particular number. So yeah, so that's why here we have to be suspicious, especially when those people who are calling you tries to do some weird things on you. Like nowadays, actually, because of the advancement of AI, a lot of people actually get scammed because of they just talk to those people who are empty in calls. So if let's say those calls are empty, please remember to stay silent first until those people who are inside the call says hello. So this is another tips that actually can help you to prevent being scammed in the future and also currently, right? So yeah, and then of course to stop, of course we want to stop something even bigger because actually there is a, even though this is actually just a scam, but this scam itself is actually coming all the way above to those people who are more in terms of authority, and they are even more wealthier. So of course they will be able to employ more those kind of advanced people to do so. So but how they come out with all this kind of money? If let's say that this is their hard-earned money, usually they won't do it for all this kind of thing. So you just think, okay, through this storyline, all right, because I just write in terms of story. So the first thing when we build a business always needs an initial capital, right? Like for example, even though you want to be an insurance agent today, you need to pay an amount of money just to say that, oh, I'm interested in being a insurance agent. So you need to initiate a capital, like for example, like 100 or 200 ringgit, right? I think this is something that worth to talk about. Yep, this happens to scam activities as well. So you may say, yeah, a lot of businesses are actually looking for those this kind of initial capital, and at the same time also there are a lot of businesses which are actually thriving, doing very well. But the question is why they start a scam activity, or why they start a scam company? Because they why they choose to do this, okay, because there are so many business coming with a good return and at the same time only need a low capital. Like for example, if let's say you are good enough in speaking, perhaps insurance agency would love you so much without asking you to leave, right? So this is something that worth to think of it. So we know that genuine business usually they will have a lot of regulations. For example, being an insurance agent, you have to go through some learning, right? You have to sit for examination, and then after that you have to also fulfill some continuous learning programs, right? So then the only mere difference, or the only silver lining that happens between these businesses and also the scam businesses are just regulation and also audit. Do you see that? A lot of times when we try to be the specific industry, like for example, you are wealthy, you want to be in telco business, so you have to inject an amount of money. This is definite because you have to build telco towers, you have to build some software, hardware, a lot of things that you have to punch in. And then after that, you also have to fulfill whatever government asks you to do. Like for example, you have to allocate some bandwidth, and then after that you have to make sure that you buy the land, right? Contact with the land authority about the signaling systems to be built in somewhere, right? Sounds too much things to handle, but for scams, no need. Why? Scams, as long as the system is okay and it is not traceable by the regulators, then this is good enough for them. Now, this kind of thing that happens, right? I would say after all those regulations loopholes, this scam activity, when they just say that, oh, I do not need to have all this kind of thing, then they can just import it from somewhere else. And when they really do this kind of importing, perhaps they get it, they just need to use it. Know how to use it is more important, right? In order for them to generate money, for them to either launder their money or scam more people, right? So because of this, the only reason is that when the business is not genuine, then they do not need to go to for regulation, or even don't need to go for audits. Even though they go, they also have some ways of running away from all this kind of weird things, right? So it is vague means it is blur. So because of this, sometimes the source can be dirty. So if let's say it is a clean one, perhaps they may just do some legit business, like for example, even they just maybe they just have a coffee shop. Yeah, this is a very good business, but why they use this? Just because of it might be the money sources are not really that clean, right? And also it's not easily to be traced once being laundered with money in a specific vehicle, especially on investment. So talking about money laundering, so it's actually for the people who have an amount of money that is dirty to clean it, like putting the dirty shirt into the washing machine. So it's the same for money laundering because they are going to do something like, oh, I find myself the money is dirty, so I have to clean it. Okay, so that's why here we have this cleaning machine mechanism that actually complicates the source of money. So what happens is that this cleaning machine would actually tries to clean up any kind of situation of money that comes from perhaps like from corruption or so on. Okay, as long as they will be able to trace, then what they do is that they just take this and then put it inside a machine, and this machine will actually try to blur out any kind of traces of the money from there. So perhaps like they may just say, oh, this is my investment, and this investment after they come out as a return, I don't this money is no longer mine. They use all these kind of words, right? So because of this, after finished cleaning, it is very hard, as super hard for authority to trace the money sources. And because of this, they can just perhaps sometimes throw out the money. They throw money away just to get the money, other monies to be punched in, and the money punched in is coming from the victim. So think of it, if let's say this is some sort of investment return that they actually guarantee you, saying that is 15 to 20%, and after that they say, oh, okay, this money itself is coming is going to be guaranteed sometimes like that. Now take note, this is definitely a huge scam, and at the same time also you might just get yourself being caught for this money under money laundering. So test yourself, ask yourself, do you want to be this kind of obtaining this kind of investment return which is considered as dirty? So if let's say no, perhaps always when you try to do any kind of investment, check every single time whether they have this kind of prospectus or not, whether uh they are actually a legit company or not. Sometimes even legit company also they have issues in giving out this kind of investment guarantees. So how come these scams can give you investment guarantees, right? So money laundering is sometimes just appear from nowhere, and we need to be always vigilant. If not, then we are going to get ourselves into trouble. So, oops. So now the next one, right? So just now when we talk about how we will be able to avoid scams, so the next one is how we will be able to manage our emergency fund. Now, our emergency fund might have already spent for these scam activities, but always remember, when you try to set up your emergency fund, you need to make sure that you have an aim or you have a goal for your fund itself. If you do not have a goal, then you can just use it for example, those scams that just happen in front of you. They say that they have already kidnapped your children, and after that you just need to go for it. So this is not something that we would want to see, but a lot of times this really happens. So that's why it is important for us to make sure that the fund is being set up with some specific goals. So emergency fund indeed is our financial safety net, and a lot of times this emergency fund has been accidentally misused, right? I would say because of sometimes they may just use it for their luxurious expense, right? And at the same time, there are some misconception by setting up this emergency fund. So, for example, they may just say, "Oh, it is similar to insurance, so insurance whatever that is covered, then I can choose not to have emergency fund." This is a big no. Now, I would say for information, sometimes a risk event can be also an emergency event. And when we talk about this kind of risk plus emergency event, we wouldn't be able to get ourselves with hands-on cash, especially when insurance steps in. So, like for example, you met with an accident. When you met an accident, definitely you need to have a specific amount of money. Of course, if let's say you have a medical coverage, then this is the other case. But if let's say you do not have that, you only have, like for example, insurance, perhaps accident insurance, PA insurance, then what happens is that insurance will say, oh, okay, you have to pay and claim. So what is going to happen next? You are going to fork out your own money just to repay the hospital on any kind of treatment that you have received. Only by then you get refunded from that. So this is not something that we want to see, right? Because it finally goes to those situations that we might have to lower down our dignity. So the next one is those people think that a fund which can be used for any circumstances, like for example, just now as what I said, luxurious expenses, and sometimes those expenses which are considered as a huge purchase, like they pay for the down payment of a house. Okay, that is something that they may just simply use it, right? So please remember, every single fund jar that you have already prepared, you should have set up a goal for that, and this goal should never ever deviate from it. So means you have to list it down. Also at the same time, you have to put the jar with specific labels. Sometimes we may just have our expense overshoot, especially on December, January, February. I think these few months will be also the situation whereby everyone is going to have their funds utilized perfectly. I would say from paycheck to paycheck. But it's important to make sure that the savings done per month, all right, and then after that, not to use that amount for this kind of thing. And at the same time, also don't think that emergency fund is equal to savings, because a lot of times when savings equals to emergency fund, then anything happens for emergency, then you have no savings at all. So means savings is only part of emergency fund. You may just start with this concept before you move on to another concept that refers to emergency fund is not equal to savings fund, because savings fund you need to have time, and at the same time you need to have an amount of money just to save for that particular purpose. So if ask yourself whether you think that 1000 is enough today. For information, a lot of times when we talk about emergency fund, they say 1000 is more than enough. Yes, this is for rural areas, but this is not for any areas which is considered urban, because there are a lot of expenses that happens. So if we just save 1000 today, so ask yourself, how much do we spend on living expenses? So are we going to spend our on living expenses only on 500 ringgit? Ask yourself. The next one, how much do we spend on repaying debts? So means, are we paying debts only using less than 1000? If let's say these two are adding up, are they just 1000 or below? If both of these answers are no, of course the third question would get you a no as well. So means 1000 indeed is not enough for emergency fund. So I think I already answered you. No, 1000 is definitely not enough for your emergency fund. So if you want to plan for emergency fund, please remember to do something. Means check your living expenses, check how much debt that you are going to repay. only by then you start to plan for it. And when you try to plan, please don't plan for only 1 month. So yes, as mentioned, beyond 1000 is the way to go because everyone has their different needs. For example, I'm staying in a usual village. So if let's say for that village itself, I do not have much expenses. Perhaps I do not need to have that amount of money, but 1000 is actually the mere minimum. And at the same time, sometimes geographical economy takes into account. Like for example, when you are staying in large cities like Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, so all these kind of places, you should have planned more than 1000. And indeed, even sometimes two times or three times or even sometimes 5 times just for 1 month because our salary. And if you are planning really for emergency fund, please remember to plan more than just 1 month because sometimes emergency can go all the way to a few months. So of course, how you want to define emergency is again depends on you. Everyone has their own definition of emergency. So please remember to define it before you do your savings. If you don't set this up, at the end of the day, you can use this emergency fund for any kind of circumstances or any kind of events that happens on you. So remember, regardless of what kind of emergency events that happens, always remember not to use credit card as your emergency fund or any kind of personal loans, so on and so forth. Right. So now, why is it so? Because usually when we start from financing, referring to use credit facility on finance, we always fund it through assets instead of through all this kind of something that is unsecured. Usually unsecured credit imposed not on asset would considered as something that you have to fork it out no matter how, and it will definitely erode your income, like it or not. So because of this, when we try to use credit for expense, it will not create improvements for our financial status, and this also leads to a lot of people fall into this bankruptcy nowadays. So because of this, emergency fund should never ever use credit, should never ever use personal loan. If you use it, please remember to recover it as much as possible through your income. If not, then you are going to fall yourself into this loophole, right? Of course, we try to pray for something, for example, have our bonus so that we will be able to repay all this, but sometimes it might not be certain. So get ourselves prepared for this would be the best approach for us to settle our emergency. So how much to survive during emergency? So have to check yourself. All right, so this is something a take back for you that you can do something to check. Right, for example, calculate the needs for a 3-month emergency fund. Right, so how you calculate the needs? By just include any expenses which are important for the living during emergency. If let's say you have an amount of number of family members together with you, then also please remember to include their expenses together. So at the same time, if you have savings, then you can use these savings to serve for emergency fund. But moving beyond that, you have to keep saving in order for you to have additional savings goals, which are living beyond emergency fund. So means if really you want to prepare for it, 3 months would be the minimum, right? I would say if let's say you would be able to prepare 1 year, is definitely the best. But remember to always able to cover expenses. Sometimes a lot of people who are lazy, they say, okay, never mind, I will just use the amount of income to save. But the amount of income to save would actually let a lot of people find that their goals are hardly achievable. So because of, let's return from sneak peek by Minasfera. So we have already conducted 2 courses, which are the first one, do it your way, and then next one was a smart emergency fund management. But we have already talked about how we will be able to set up this emergency fund, what are the scams, modus operandi, so on and so forth. Now let us move on to smart personal risk management, whereby we are focusing on how we will be able to manage risk. Unfortunately, a lot of times when we talk about this personal risk management, a lot of people think that risks are indeed emergency. So this is why risk fund should be indeed covered by other parts, not being included with this emergency fund as well. So it's actually your financial safety net, but at the same time also this silver lining should have been putting in a clear cut that this should be covered by insurance, but of course not all the risk has been covered by this insurance. For example, if let's say you are currently diagnosed with cancer, so insurance might not cover this amount of money onto you, okay, for this situation. So for the next one is sometimes it involves a huge amount when it happens, and usually this would be huge amount, and indeed there are some of them which are permanent, referring to that of you can't be able to recover yourself. Like for example, once you have been diagnosed with heart attack, so this event you might not be able to get yourself recovered. Because of this, then a lot of times if you are actually doing some other way, if you are not using insurance, perhaps you are going to have suffer yourself a lot because of that. So when we refer to that of risk fund, we always refer to that of this fund itself must be covered by something that actually can help us and also would do some automation for us without having us to inform certain parties for them to issue that amount of money. Because a lot of times when we meet risk, we might not be able to do any kind of responses towards that particular event. So before we do any kind of risk needs planning, right? So or emergency needs, always remember to do one thing by just listing down the expenses and liabilities, which have already been covered just now when we talk about the emergency fund management. So always remember to list down any expenses and liabilities that you want to fund, and then after that select a management technique. So for information, there are a lot of risk management techniques that you can use, or sometimes you can use more than one risk management technique in order for the event to be covered for a specific situation. So if let's say you are able to find the management techniques based on the current financial situation, check if this is suitable. So for example, I know that I'm going to meet with an accident because of the road is so bumpy. Perhaps this road we can choose not to take it up, right? So for this management technique is something that we have a lot of techniques for it. So do not limit your techniques to just one technique, because some of the techniques might be too expensive for us to cover at the same time. So remember, before planning, remember to check through this expense and liabilities list, and also take a management technique before you decide which kind of way you want to settle it. So understand some management technique, because it is not just going to be the insurance only. In this course, we are going to teach you how to manage your risk without just not using insurance. Sometimes you can use other than insurance in order for you to manage your risk. We will give you some examples and let you know these ways you can use it, and also it is considered as a part of free you may refer to that of a free risk management tool, but this free risk management tool, sometimes you have to also get yourself sacrificed for a little bit, right? So of course we can choose to remain the risk. This is one of the technique which we say that we expose to the particular risk and we take up the risk itself, right? But a lot of people, they do not want to take this, right? Because of this, then they would choose to have, like for example, insurance, or sometimes they may just ask someone to do a specific job, which is some kind of a risk transfer. But remember, again, there's no method which is useless when we try to manage our risk, but specific method needs to meet our specific goals, especially on risk management. So with that, we have to talk about goal settings. Regardless of we are doing emergency or risk management, we always talk about one thing, which is we call it as we have to set up a fund. So this fund itself is something that we need to set up properly and put it into a specific statement. We call it as goal, and this goal itself would help you or to steer us towards our specific destination. So the goal itself is actually a lighthouse to our journey, but at the same time, whether we are moving against or moving towards is depending on what kind of action that we have already taken. So very important is that the clear goals work with statistics. So because of this, we always need to put numbers when we set up our goals. For example, I want to save 2,000 ringgit this year. So means I will need to at least allocate a certain amount, for example, maybe 200 ringgit. So I can use about 10 months in order for me to save this amount, right? For this emergency or risk management goals. So you need to tell yourself how much that you want to save. If you don't, then your goal might not be able to realize easily. And this is also the reason why goals are not easily realized, because a lot of people, they just set their goals, like for example, I want to for example, just take out of finance topics, like for example, I want to cut my body weight. Yes, a lot of people, they just say, I want to cut my body weight, I want to be slim, so on and so forth. So the question is how slim it can be, right? If let's say consider straight as slim, or you need to be able to see the shape. So these are the parameters that yet to be announced. So but the problem is when they say that I couldn't see this kind of goals specifics, they choose not to move on to the goals anymore. So because of this, it's always good to have numbers. For example, maybe if let's say really you want to cut your body weight, perhaps you have to say, I want to cut 20 kilograms this year. So at least everyone knows how you want to set your goals on and where you want to go towards. So if let's say you are just like maybe 10 kilograms that you have already lost after 1 year, so this is something that tells you, is it easy for you, or can you change it to other ways of setting up these type of goals. So that's why goal setting is very important to include with a specific thing, we call it as a statistics. So next, at the same time, not to place your goal into the shelf and then hope miracle will happen. For information, a goal will never happen in miracle. You have to work through it. So it means you need to make sure that the plan is workable. You need to always check the initial clear goals, and always need to check whether these economic factors are the one that affects it. So like for example, if your like for example, maybe perhaps economy is having a downturn, and then after that you might get yourself retrenched, then perhaps you might not be able to achieve your goals, right? So that's why every single time any event that happens to us, we always need to make a routine check if these goals will be able to achieve our aim or our goals or not. If no, then we have to switch to a lower one so that we still keep moving on these goals itself for that particular year. So remember always, those people who think miracle will happen is considered as an unexpected goal. It's like a vehicle without steering, because when there's no steering, you cannot control how this vehicle can move. Like for example, they have to whether they should turn right or turn left, or they should have reversed. But unfortunately for this situation, you might not be able to do so, because the steering had been fixed only for straight, and you can only hit the obstacles without doing anything, right? So important to always check your goals, even though you are not moving towards the year end, but always within a specific time period. So remember, again, let me repeat again, on credits, again, for risk, you definitely cannot use credits, because if you use credits, risk event, it creates more uncertainties. For example, I met an accident, I lose my leg. So if let's say I lose my leg, I wouldn't be able to work. So if let's say I couldn't work anymore, if I use credit to settle all my risks that had happened, then I might not be able to repay, and finally I might have to use up my savings in order for me to face all this kind of risks that just happen anywhere, right? So remember to always use any available financial tools, especially for risk management, because risk management is quite easy to get its tools through financial institutions or insurance companies. So yes, remember to use all these tools to help you to stay yourself within your budget without overshooting your budget whenever this risk event happens. So yeah, it seems like quite fast for me to clear off all this. So you can see that there are some similarities between smart emergency fund management and also smart personal risk management, because always these two refer to that of you have to set up goals. If you don't set up your goals, then you won't be able to continue on how you want to set a certain amount of money just to save it in order for you to meet any kind of emergency or risk events. But there's another one more part that actually I would want to focus in my this in this course, which is the strategy personal debt management, because for your information, debt is actually the most highlighted case and also most highlighted financial components in Malaysia. And actually, indeed, it's not only in Malaysia but also in the global environment. All right, now let us talk about it, because usually we use debt to fund our purchases on assets. Like for example, we buy vehicle, we buy houses. All these kind of assets, we couldn't be able to save that amount of money within that short period of time. If let's say I were to save, I were to use my income to save for a house like 1 million ringgit, perhaps I need to save for like 30 to 40 years. I might not be able to achieve that. So because of this debt management would be the one that actually has to look into it in order for you to create more wealth. This is what everyone wants, right? But the problem is, are you using that properly? So now, why we have to talk about debt management? The current trend now is, you can see Malaysians are actually borrow as much as 85% of the country GDP. That is actually quite a huge amount of money, because currently we also have something we call it as a buy now pay later scheme, or sometimes we shorten it as BNPL scheme. So these BNPL schemes contributes to more people to buy something that is not they wouldn't be able to afford. So because of this, people are now becoming more and more reliant on this kind of facilities that is being offered. There are a lot, and it seems like they are not really regulated well. Like for example, if let's say you apply a credit card, they will check through your whether your salary is enough, whether you are really employed or not. But this is not the case for BNPL. So that's why banks are actually the central bank is actually quite strict, especially when they try to regulate this buy now pay later scheme, because it seems like any kind of company, they can just set up this buy now pay later scheme, and then after that they can just start charging the users with interest. So Young people who are age 35 and below file bankruptcy because of this personal loan. All right, personal loan is part of the debt itself, and this personal loan usually is a huge amount of unsecured loan. So, like for example, you are just just a normal person. Maybe you are just being salaried, but you are allowed to borrow like 30,000, 40,000, like that. So these are considered as unsecured loan that being offered by the bank, but the problem is people are not able to repay. So if let's say two unable to repay, then it will cause this personal loan to get into default, and finally they have to file for bankruptcy if let's say they wouldn't be able to repay. And then after that, too many sales and also promotions running which encourage impulsive spending. So when we say this sales and promotion means it's actually related to buy now pay later, but these sales and promotion are sometimes encouraging us to spend more when we are trying to do some purchasing. So like say for example, I just buy like for example, just buy a cloth, right? Initially I buy a cloth is like 100 something. All right, this is quite normal, but they will say, oh okay, if you let's say you buy through 300, then you'll be able to get perhaps a free item, or they just give us some discounts, right? All this causes us to buy more, buy beyond our means. So because of this, we call this as part of impulsive spending, and actually this impulsive spending is actually stems on those people who are buying the product. They feel like it can be a psychological factor. It can be because of they want to just they have a lot of money they want to spend. All right, so this can really happen on to those people. So when we have this kind of situation, then sales and promotion will actually improve this scenario to get more people into this impulse spending pattern. So yeah, debt management comes in because they use borrowings, they use credits to buy all these kind of items. And because of all these kind of facilities are quite convenient, by just having a tap or just use an application to just register for it, it becomes an issue today. So yes, for information, that is not entirely bad. Sometimes you may say they are good, but take note, it is a double-edged sword, because when banks give you credit, they are actually observing you. They are observing how well you manage your debt. Like for example, you are getting your credit card, like for example 10,000 with 10,000 credit limit. So this 10,000 credit limit, are you going to repay it within month by month, or you are going to just pay the mere minimum? So all this will actually list into bank's record, and bank will decide if you want to borrow in the future. They are going to decide how much interest they want to charge you based on this. So it's actually like observing you. Even though you are rich, you might not be able to get any bank's promotion on, like for example, their borrowing schemes, because they are actually checking on how well you repay before they allow you to have this. So the first entry level is indeed the credit card. The next one only by then is personal loan, and after that will be mortgage loan. So that's why it's important for those people who just started working to have a simple credit card first. And this simple credit card is for you to show to the bank saying that, oh, I will be able to manage my credit wisely. So this is something that worth to talk about when we talk about this debt. So debt is indeed good, but we need to learn how to be good in debt. So talking about something relates to this debts and interest. Debts refers to that of the amount that actually we borrow. We usually refer to that of the amount that is currently outstanding, or sometimes it may be compounded amount. For example, if you don't repay your credit card debts, then perhaps they may just say that, oh okay, initially you don't pay maybe they are 5,000, then they charge you interest on 10%. So after that, they will just continue to compound. If you do not continue repay that, then it will continue to add the interest into the credit limit itself. So interest, in Islamic terms, we call it as hiba, is the amount that is being charged by the bank on the amount borrowed. So it can be based on your personal loan, it can be based on your credit card. All these would actually refers to that of interest as long as you don't repay it. Okay, for credit card, if you don't repay on time, and for personal loan, it's definite. Okay, every year, every month, as long as there is amount outstanding, then they are going to charge that amount on a specific percentage. So you always have to pay interest or hiba first before repaying that principal. So let's say, for example, you are getting the banks charge you at a rate of 10% on 5,000, for example. So initially, if let's say you are paying 5,000, maybe they charge you 5,005 now because of 10%. So 5,005, you when if let's say you only pay 4,000, so the 500 would be trying to repay on interest first, and then the 3,005 would actually reduce your principal amount. So this is how it works for the debts repayment. So how they charge interest? They charge interest differently, depends on what kind of facility that you are actually borrowing. So the first one is the simple one. When we call it, we may just simply call it as a simple interest. Why it is being called as simple? Because it is just focused on the amount that had been borrowed. Full stop. Means if today I already borrowed this amount, I would actually use this amount as something that we borrow initially, and when they try to calculate the interest, they would calculate the interest based on that, even though the principal had reduced. The refer to that of principal means the amount outstanding. So if let's say the amount outstanding reduces, then my interest is not reducing based on this simple one. But for compound one, yes, it will reduce. For example, I borrowed 5,005. If they charge me at 6,000 for the loan to be repaid, if I only pay 3,000, then 2,005 would be actually contributed to the principal, and 500 will be paid for the interest. And then after that, the next month, all right, if let's say it is just remaining 3,000, then that amount, the interest itself, is going to be charged based on 3,000 instead of 6,000, right? So actually it helps in reducing the interest that has been charged here, right? Which you may say both are good, but indeed both are indeed not good, because as long as you have this interest you have to repay, you indeed are trying to pay for the cost of having these loans. So that's why it's important for you to take a smart move by either quickly settle off the loan, or you try your best to outsmart the system. Okay, now, do you have multiple debts? This is some question for you. If let's say you have, then this is the tip for you. So the first tip is to check the interest rate, check the loan tenor. For example, you borrow an amount of money that not a few, maybe not an amount, but a few amount of monies. All right. So one, perhaps it will be let's make it simple, 10,000, 10,000, and 10,000. Okay. So but if let's say they have different loan tenors, one is offering you 5 years, another one offering you 3 years, perhaps the 3 years one you should settle it first. This is what it means here. And then after that, at the same time, also the amount of interest rate that has been charged. So if I were being charged at 10% compared to that of the amount that is being charged for 5%, of course the 10% one has to be settled as soon as possible. Or else, comparatively, if you are actually paying for that for the higher amount for three years compared to that of the one smaller one for 5 years, then you can see the huge difference there. So this is why we always guide through our participants to actually check the interest rate by just start to settle or clear the debt at a time on the highest interest rate first. If this is a lower, the lower interest rate one should actually hold on. Okay, not now. Okay, now, and then after that, what we do is after we have cleared this, you feel like, oh, I will be able to settle all my debts. Then you would have more this motivation to do a continued one by just clear out more debts. So you are going to continue to look for other debts to be cleared. Like you repeat the cycle. For example, after you have cleared the 5% one, then you clear the 3% one, and after that you clear the 2% one. So it's actually following step by step, right? And then after that you would be able to see how debts reduces over time, and also the number of contracts also will reduce over time at the same time. So yeah, I will say these are the courses that actually we are offering here. Um, I will say these courses, you may say, they are just dry information. For information, these courses, of course, because of this is a preview, and I'm actually pre-recording it, so that's why it seems dry. But I will say there are some perks during the course because these courses are always physical, and when we refer to that on the physical course, we always try to gamify your learning experience through Minasfera. So here we will have a cash flow game in certain courses. Like for example, in our Do It Your Way, this is the course that actually has a cash flow game one. So you can join this kind of cash flow game to understand how you spend your money, and at the same time how you would be able to react after that particular event happens. Like for example, you are having this financial issues. So are you going to be panicked, or are you going to fight through the financial impacts that you have already received? So other than that, also we are going to give you some real life examples and simulations, and at the same time also give you some chance for you to solve the issues based on the specific focus that we are actually uh, elaborating during the time when we are talking about the course. And of course, we also offer you a few interactive worksheets for personal practices and also goal setups. And at the same time, I'm yet to add another one, which is we call it as the continuous learning and also coaching. So this is another one that actually I give it to everyone so that you know where you are and also you are being guided through without having a hassle, like just having a 7 hour course and then after that you have to absorb everything. So these are the perks. Depends on how you learn, you pick up all this. So I would say when we talk about gaming experience, is definitely the one that actually focus you the best. So these courses, unintentionally, it helps you to build your wealth through technical skills, which it might not be taught in school, even though it's being taught in school, whether you can absorb the real essence of it or not. This is some question that actually I would want to ask you. Number two, manage expect finances frequently omitted, because a lot of finance aspects are being frequently omitted. Like for example, this emergency fund. Usually, insurance company and also insurance agents will really help you to do this. But a lot of times when you go out and then after that you experience these causes from perhaps it can be HRD Corp claimable or it might not be. These courses might just focus on, like for example, teach you how to do investment. So all these are considered as omitted because a lot of times the foundation of the finance, you have to build it first. So the foundation is considered as the debt management, the emergency management, and also the risk management. You have to lay this foundation first before you build the continued foundation, like for example, investment and also retirement. Only by then your finance is considered healthy. Prepare yourself to face financial challenges with sound financial goals refers to that of we will help you to, or we will guide you, we will help you to set up a specific goal for you to achieve it, and at the same time also these goals you will feel much more better and much more well informed. Because a lot of times when we talk about this goal setting, they may just say, you set up any goals and then after that you just need to focus on the goal. But sometimes the goal might not be uh, envisioned enough to let us go and imagine whether it's going to achieve it or not. So because of this, yeah, it's important for you to make your sound financial goal during your session with us. Search for the best way of managing finance within your comfort zone. Everyone wants their comfort zone, but the problem is a lot of times there are also people finding themselves saying that, hey, I couldn't be able to achieve all this, and then after that I should have followed all this, and I will say the transition is indeed very painful. For information, the transition needs not to be too painful, but a specific pain is required. However, a huge pain is not needed, because a lot of times when we feel a huge pain, we will not continue on our goals anymore. So that's why we set up a comfort zone for you, and then after that, we allow you to manage your finance within that, so that you do not feel a change is painful enough for you. We will help you to also rebuild your financial confidence through games and activities. And we are actually trying to transform games and activities as part of our training as well. So it helps you to see how well you manage your finance and how confident you are able to in the future. So let you imagine yourself when you are able to achieve it, you would actually reward yourself better. Number 6, and also the last one, connect personal financial concepts with your financial awareness. So a lot of times financial awareness are being omitted, even though sometimes, like for example, scams awareness, even though yes, there are a lot of awareness schemes have been built up, but still there are a lot of people who fall into the trap. So that's why this financial awareness have to get built. In the course, you'll be able to get yourself built with this as well. So and at the same time also, we will also offer some financial concepts that you have already understood to connect with the technical side of the financial aspects. So from there, you'll be able to link whatever you have understood and also whatever that you have done to whatever financial concepts that is being considered as technical. So at least you don't feel a gap between this. So I would say, if you are not confident in managing finance, you are planning to change your specific spending habit, and finally, if you were to get yourself a better, clearer financial goals this year, then you should attend this course. Not only this, but these courses, because actually I offer 4. Now, you may say, yeah, then if you are actually ready to take it, then let's have a look. So actually, we have a few sessions which are public. So these are the public courses that is being offered to everyone, whereby Do It Your Way and also Smart Emergency Fund Management, we have 2 sessions, and these 2 are the basics of it in order for you to pick up the other 2. Because these 2, if you look at how it is being managed, Do It Your Way is indeed a very broad one. It actually tells you about a little bit on emergency, a little bit about debt management, and then after that it talks about scams. And then after that, for smart emergency fund management, it talks about managing your emergency by just using an amount of money that you have already set up. So these 2 indeed are quite fundamental. So that's why it is being offered earlier, and also it is offered with 2 sessions. But for personal risk management and also personal debt management, I will add another 1 more session upon after we have already get through all this. So all of these courses will be held in Hill Cafe Puchong, which is in Puchong Utama, in Selangor. So only the one with do it your way, which is being charged at 749 ringgit, while the others are being charged at 399 ringgit. So if you are interested, you may scan the QR code to sign up the courses, and then you can use credit card, you can use any buy now pay later schemes, all right, and then you can use this as also part of a training to understand how you'll be able to manage your finance. But you may say it is too expensive. I understand that. So let's have a look and on the next one. So if let's say you are taking all the courses together within the same bill, taking do it your way, smart emergency fund management, smart personal risk management, and also smart personal debt management, you are going to be charged instead of 1,946, you are only being charged at 1,599 only. And this would be automatic without needing you to punch any kind of coupon codes. Just need to remember to sign up and also to go and put your bill in before 31st of January 2026, because after that this promotion will be out. So I would say these are the causes, and I would say it's like some sort of buy three free one, all right, and then the another one is depending on the 399 that you are actually focusing on, and then after that yeah, is I would say only for this self-pay people who are going to get this promotion. Whoever who is using HRD Corp claimable one, they are going to follow exactly the price that is being offered here, which is 399 for the smart courses and also strategic courses, and do it your way for 749. So yeah, this is all of my presentation. I thank you for listening to me on this part, and I will say hopefully I will be able to see you during the time when we are having our courses in Hill Cafe Puchong. So with that, we see each other again, and hopefully we will be able to see each other in the real face-to-face session.